Hey everyone! Today we're going to talk about something we all experience but maybe don't think about enough: ceremony. Things like weddings, graduations, holidays. We tend to see them as just formalities, right? Just going through the motions. But what if I told you they're actually one of the most powerful forces that shapes our entire world? I mean, when you hear the word ceremony, what comes to mind? Probably something a little stuffy, maybe a bit old-fashioned. It's a super common way to see it. But today, we're going to flip that idea on its head and show how these rituals are not just powerful, but absolutely essential for both our society and for our own personal healing. So let's get on the same page. What is a ceremony really? Well, it's a lot more than just a party. It's a structured performance, and it has a really important job: to confirm and reinforce the rules and frameworks that organize our lives. You could almost think of it like the operating system for society, constantly running in the background, making sure we all know the rules we're living by. And that brings us to our first huge point. If ceremony is what organizes our world, then, at its core, ceremony is all about power. Yeah, it's not just symbolic fluff. It's the arena where power is shown off, negotiated, and sometimes even created from scratch. There's this brilliant quote by the political theorist Stephen Lukes that just nails it. Every way of seeing is also a way of not seeing. Think about it. Ceremonies are like spotlights. They shine a big, bright light on things like a president's authority or a country's unity. But in doing that, they also cast a shadow over other things, like inequality, or the simple fact that these power structures aren't natural. They were made by people. This perfectly captures the two-faced nature of ceremony. On one hand, it's a model of reality. It's like a mirror, showing us how the world is supposedly organized. But at the exact same time, it's a model for reality, a blueprint for how we should act in that world. So it's both a mirror and a manual. Pretty clever, right? So who gets to use this incredibly powerful tool? Well, it turns out everybody. Of course, the state uses it. A presidential inauguration is pure ceremony, designed to make the transfer of power feel sacred, grand, and totally inevitable. But, and this is so important, ceremony can also be a weapon for the resistance. Groups that don't have official power can create their own rituals to build community and challenge the story that the people in charge are telling. And here's a fantastic real-world example of that. At a school in Kenya, a group of young Muslim schoolgirls totally hijacked a boring old award ceremony. They used it to perform traditional Swahili poetry, which was usually reserved for men. And they also reinterpreted their hijabs, not as a sign of tradition, but as a symbol of being modern girls. So in one single act, they pushed back against the government's idea of national identity and the gender roles in their own community. Now that is power in action. So ceremony is obviously a huge deal for society. But what happens when its models of reality just don't fit your own experience? What happens when you're broken in a way that society's standard rituals just can't fix? This question brings us to a much more personal story. To really dig into this, we're going to turn to a classic of American literature, Leslie Marmon Silko's groundbreaking novel, Ceremony. It is such a powerful story, and it's basically a case study in how ritual can become a life-or-death tool for healing deep personal trauma when absolutely nothing else works. So let's meet Tayo. He's a World War II veteran who comes back to his Laguna Pueblo home completely shattered by what he's seen and done in the war. He's suffering from what we would now call severe PTSD, but it's even deeper than that. He feels totally disconnected from everything and everyone, and he's haunted by this terrible belief that he personally caused a drought back home because he cursed the jungle rain during the war. So Teo is first sent to army doctors, but their white medicine completely fails him. It treats his trauma like it's just this isolated problem stuck in his head. It completely ignores his connection to his community, his land, his culture, his entire world. The Pueblo ceremony, on the other hand, sees his sickness as part of a much bigger imbalance. It offers him a path back to wholeness by reconnecting him to his story and his roots. Now, Tayo's healing journey isn't just a powerful story. It actually follows a universal pattern that anthropologists have found in transformative rituals all across the world. This is basically the blueprint for how we as humans make huge personal changes. This model shows that big life transitions, everything from getting married to healing from trauma, they all tend to follow this three-act structure. First, there's separation, where you're removed from your old life. Then you enter this transitional in-between phase called liminality. And finally, you have reincorporation, where you return to society as a new person with a new status. That middle stage, liminality, is really the heart of the whole process. It's the betwixt and between. It's this messy, confusing, but incredibly creative space where your old identity starts to dissolve and a new one can be built. It's in this powerful, uncertain state that real, deep change can actually happen. And in this liminal state, something incredible often emerges, a feeling called communitas. It's this intense, unfiltered sense of community where all the normal social structures, like your job title or your status, they just melt away. It's a powerful bond between people as just people. And for Teo, finding this connection with his healer and with the natural world around him was absolutely key to his recovery. Okay, so we've gone from the huge scale of state power all the way down to the intimate, personal healing of one man's soul. Let's bring it all back together now and figure out what this means for us in our own lives right now. So what's the big takeaway here? It's that ceremony is an active force. It's not passive. It shapes our world, for good or for bad. It can be a tool for control or a tool for resistance. And on a personal level, that three-stage structure of ritual gives us a timeless map for how to get through life's biggest and scariest transformations. So, I'll leave you with this question. Forget the big, obvious ceremonies for a minute. What are the smaller, hidden rituals that shape your life? You know, your morning coffee, the weekly team meeting at work, the way you say goodbye to your family. What are the hidden ceremonies that shape your world, and what kind of power do they hold? Thanks for tuning in.